is set in 1973 in the heart of the Cold War. It's the organization who are in the front line of that war, and who are known as the Circus. It's the intelligence service, equivalent to the CIA. And it's disrupted in this story by the news, or by the suspicion that one of the senior members of that organization is a traitor, or as a mole, as they would call him. And this obviously shakes it to its foundation, because it's the obvious threat to the organization and a threat to national security, and perhaps even more. But it's also personally threatening, because these men are fiercely loyal to each other and dependent on each other, and they're all they have, really. Because they all have completely dysfunctional family lives, so this is the family.
Yeah.
And if one of them is poison, it's not only dangerous, it's also heartbreaking. And if you don't know who it is, then it could be anybody. And so, it's a profound trauma, and that's how the story is set up. And it's made worse by the fact that there are certain people in the organization who don't want to believe it. They have their own political reasons for denying it, because they want to believe that everything's going fine. And so that's part of the conflict.
Okay. Tell us how your character, Bill Hayden, is the confident one amongst his peers.
Yes, he is. He's, borderline nauseating in how confident he is. He's the one with the swagger. He loves his job. He knows how good he is. He knows he's intellectually formidable. Very courageous. He has a great war record. He handles things in a efficiency which borders on the ruthless. But he does it with charm, and he basically sleeps with whoever he wants, of either sex. And he will do that for his own motives, or he will do it for strategic motives. And spies, and sex sort of seem to go together somehow, certainly in the cinematic world.
So talk about how the director monitored you playing out the character's twists and turns.
He does it very clearly and very simply. Thomas is I really think he's a genius. It's the sort of talk is expected of us when we talk about our director, but he is. And he's an extremely unpretentious man. Absolutely says what he means in very plain terms. And he doesn't dress it up. And he is very flexible up to a point, but there are certain things which have been made as a decision, and you move on. And he would be very clear with his narrative thinking. And he would walk out onto the set at the beginning of every scene before the first rehearsal and tell us what the scene was. Even if we knew, it didn't matter. He was just going to take us through. I don't know if it was to clarify his own thinking or to clarify ours or to get us all on the same page, but whatever it did, probably achieved all of that. And he'd say, this is the moment when Smiley comes home, and to his surprise, Bill Hayden is sitting at the table, who has been drinking his whiskey, and Anne is presumably upstairs. And you've read it, but he's taking you through what the day's work is going to be and what we're all going to go for. And then the nuances kick in, and then you start to discover what it really is, what happens inside that very, very clearly laid out outline. And he works very closely with Hoyte, his director of photography. And it was extraordinary hearing these secret conferences. And they weren't secret because they needed to be secret from us. They were secret because of the connection between the two men. But you'd hear this quiet conferring in Swedish. And Hoyte, who has these extraordinarily piercing blue eyes, would never take them off us as a director of photography, would just be watching all the time. Very, very sympathetic, very engaged, very interested. And you watch the movie, you see what they were conferring about. You see the details and these extraordinary shots that tell a story where there are no words, that lead you from one thing to another in a way that just keeps the film moving at this stately pace. It's not a rapid-fire film. Gary said yesterday it was like the pace of snow falling. But it has that consistent, compelling compelling quality.
Would you say that there's more emotion in this film than people may be expecting?
Yes, I do. It goes from repressed to explicit emotion. I mean, I think there are about 5 male characters in this who cry. You don't expect to see spy movies where people cry all over the place. I mean, they're not crying all over the place. It's not a men's movement, male bonding movie, but this is about very, very repressed men who do a very, very dangerous job, and they have to keep a lid on it all the time. And you see moments where they break. And some of them are very, very surprising. But the pressure they are under is absolutely immense. And in fact, I think one of the few characters who never cries is one of the saddest people in it, is Smiley, who's Gary's character.
The story takes place during the Cold War, but do you think those themes of trust and betrayal are still relevant today?
No, they were relevant when we lived in caves, and they'll be relevant as long as we've got breath in our bodies, you know? Of course they are. And it's not just trust and betrayal, it's fear, paranoia, insecurity, and desperate need for intimacy, and all those things are at play as well.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thanks.